Hi, this is Nathan. I wanted to do an in-depth analysis of how I fight and why I'm doing what I'm doing. First, you'll notice my skill set. This is a set that utilizes guns and armor to its fullest potential. He actually is not as good at turn battling as I am, unfortunately, so he does lose the turn fight here. We start off here with a direct shot. This is one of the few reasons why we don't really use brakes that often when we fly, because when we do, it opens us up to missile shoving. I actually have a prime example of missile shoving later on in this video, but we'll get to that whenever. B and I end up having one more turn fight, and this time I end up losing it. When you turn battle someone, you actually have two options. You can either set yourself up to lose the turn fight but gain an advantageous position when you start evading missiles and guns, or you can watch their plane, predict where they're going to turn, and then turn accordingly so that you DFM them before they DFM you. I notice B's plane is really far behind me, so I turn a certain way so that it pulls him in and lets me counter immediately. Here you'll see his plane twitch and start smoking. That means my guns just scored a critical hit and dealt a lot of damage to him. B unfortunately makes the wrong decision here to counter instead of pulling me around, because when I get the counter on him, my guns are so strong that it almost immediately kills him. I'm pretty sure if you wanted to watch someone fly around, you'd go watch Falcon's videos, so I'm just going to cut out this little bit right here. Here I notice B coming up from below me, so I set myself up accordingly to turn battle him. He turns out and wide, so I turn in quick and end up beating him. B actually ends up losing control of his controller somehow, and he ends up flying in a spiral pattern, which opens him up to missiles. He dies, and the game crashes shortly thereafter. This person I'm fighting right here is actually Fox, whom I actually made a video earlier with. It's interesting to note that Fox here is actually using the exact same skill set that I am, and that this was a training session designed to show him how strong the set really is. Fox is well attuned to using a 2-turn stack whenever he's turn fighting, so I actually end up winning this one because he turns inward below me, so I just point my plane down and DFM him. Fox has a tendency to line his plane up whenever he starts evading, so here I get a few direct shots off on him. Fox knows my missile shoving is pretty good, so he tries his best to lose me as soon as he can. I notice him turning downwards, and whenever he levels out his plane on the turn upwards, I assume, okay, I can still get him with the counter, which I can't. Because due to the way this game handles countering, if you counter going upwards or in a direction your plane does not like, it will not give you a full counter. Now Fox is fighting at a very high speed. Whenever he countered me, he left me with high speed, so it lets me get straight to missile dodging very easily. Fox is sticking very close to my plane, and I noticed this, so I set up my plane in a way that I do to him what he just did to me. I don't give him a full counter, I only give him a partial. I honestly have no clue how I got this direct shot. Now I'm close to Fox. Fox notices I'm close to him, so he tries to set up for a very quick counter. I know that he knows that I'm close, so I back my plane off of it to get me in a prime position for countering. I know that Fox took damage earlier, so he will not have the full amount of health needed to survive this counter. The smart move for Fox in this situation would have been to keep accelerating and to set me up for a different counter to surprise me. I already knew he was going to do this counter, so it didn't really help him that much. Now, after skipping ahead a little bit, we see Fox below me, and when we do start the turn fighting, he actually gets a pretty good advantage on me, but he doesn't capitalize on it, so I turn around and end up DFMing him instead. Now, I fought Fox before. Whenever I DFM him, he's going to start missile dodging immediately. Whenever he starts missile dodging, he likes to make his plane go straight. Now, because of this, I get a direct shot on him, even though I'm changing my view from third person to cockpit view for a better gun angle. Whenever you DFM someone, there is a slight cooldown to where they can counter you, otherwise it would be immediate countering over and over again. Fox knows this exact time to counter, so he ends up countering me here with a partial. Fox makes the decision to back off when he should be trying to gun me, and he ends up coming close as soon as my cooldown wears off, allowing me to counter. After I counter him, Fox gets a little dancy, so I can't hit him with my guns or my missiles, so I decide now's a good time to get really close and try and gun him down. I notice Fox's plane turning upwards, so I decide to give him what he wants, but this time he doesn't get a partial. I get a really good counter on him and a lot of gun damage. Because I was able to get a really good look at his plane as I was countering him, I noticed that his plane's very heavily damaged. He's at least heavy or critical damage. I know that he cannot survive another counter from me, So now the smart decision for Fox is to try and stay away from me as much as he can and not let me counter at all. In order to get his health back, he needs to be not taking damage. Here I get a chance to counter Fox, but I don't capitalize on it and end up eating a missile from my efforts. After the botched counter and taking the missile damage, I decide the best course of action is to turn my plane upwards to try and catch him in a partial. He sees me doing this and backs off. I eat another missile and pull Fox into the air. I do not have enough health now to survive a full counter. I deploy flares for some cover as I try to pull a very risky maneuver. Fox decides to back off as now we see the edge of the map in our radars. I don't see it, but he does. After he pulls off, I notice the edge of the map and decide to get away from it. Now because Fox went to go hug the edge of the map, he can't catch me now if I run away from him. I use this opportunity to put some distance between us and the edge of the map, because it's really unsportsmanlike if you want to pull your opponent out of the map while they're chasing you. I'll admit I did it before to Kaz out of salty rage, and to Falcon's goons when they were outnumbering me. Here, Fox has the advantage on me because he was already behind me as I started turning. After Fox DFMs me, there's a short period where his plane actually has to physically get behind mine, so I use this time to accelerate my plane from 2200 to 3200. Earlier, Fox was hanging back and shooting missiles at me, and they were actually landing, so he decides to stay back and to keep shooting missiles. I know what he's doing, so I'm just gonna run the missiles out. I notice Fox is getting close now and then, so all I have to do is just bide my time until he gets close and counter. You can see the hesitation in his assault circle every time he gets close. For some really weird reason, it says my plane stalls as I counter. After I'm on Fox, I'm really desperate to give him some damage back, so I decide to get close and try gunning him down. He deploys his flares, so I just move past his flares and shoot anyways. I know he's going to counter soon, so I back off and just take the free damage. The reason why Fox isn't back on me in DFM is because he countered at an angle where it makes his plane extremely difficult to get back on the mine, so instead of him getting on me, all it does is just debuff my plane. He DFMs me again anyways because my plane was debuffed. Fox is pretty far away from me and shooting missiles, so I decide to level my plane downwards and try to turn up. Fox sees me doing this and decides to give me a few bullets for my efforts. Fox backs off just enough so that I can't counter as I turn my plane upwards, so I know he's doing that. So what I do is I turn my plane to the side a little bit and counter anyways. Because the game was lagging a little bit, the game doesn't register to counter all that well and doesn't let me get back on Fox. This doesn't really matter all that much as his plane is debuffed. Fox is starting to get impatient because he can't land a lot of damage on me, so he decides to go for a very risky maneuver. I notice his plane's turning, but not normally. It's turning too fast. I won't be able to hit him with my guns. That must mean that he's using his high G turns. I shoot a missile and Fox deploys his flares. The missile was shot before Fox had used his flares, so it goes straight for Fox's plane through the flares. Because I had shot the missile before he had flared, by the time my next missile is up and ready to shoot, his flares are away from his plane, so it just lets the missile fly straight to his plane. I know what Fox is trying to do. He's trying to pull me in and counter me. I'm not gonna let that happen, so I use my brakes because they're stronger than his, and I just let the qualms fly. I get really close because I know he doesn't have the health to survive any amount of damage from my guns.
Goodbye.